Hey, I'm Matthew with the Fine Press, and this is another episode of Creative People Are Weird. Forgive my voice, it'll probably go out during the course of this. I'm not feeling so hot today, but I wanted to talk to you about Shia LaBeouf. It's probably feels like a strange topic to be covering here, but I think it's really important because he's in the news a lot lately. The timeline goes back, a couple years ago he produced this film, and it was later discovered that he plagiarized it. Then he was plagiarizing his apologies. Then he started wearing a paper bag over his head that said, "I'm not famous anymore." And I'm skipping a lot of other strange stuff in there too. And most recently, he's got this hashtag "I am sorry," and he's doing this art installation where he's sitting in a room with the paper bag over his head, and people are allowed to come in, and there's a table with objects on it, and all this stuff's going on, and everybody thinks that Shia LaBeouf is crazy or weird or whatever. I posit that Shia LaBeouf is just doing more of what he did a couple years ago with this film. And he is not doing a very good job of hiding his source material. Jonathan Lethem said, when someone calls something creative, 9 times out of 10 it's because they are not familiar with the source material. And I think that's really important to know. Now, the age we're in is a brutal time for creative people, because creative people have always drawn on influences to create their own voice, their own style. It was just easier to hide in the past. You could see architecture or hear music from another part of the world on a trip, come back to where you were, create, and no one in your area would recognize that source material because they had never been there. They had never heard that Tibetan folk melody or seen that architecture in the Pacific Islands. And so you could put those things into your work and no one would recognize it. Now with the internet, you can reverse image search something, or if you hear a quote, you can put like half the words in and it'll show up. As a matter of fact, that the Lethem quote, I didn't learn from Lethem, I learned it from Austin Kleon, and he credited his source material, but source material is something all creatives use, and we should be using more often, and this is in some ways the best era to be alive when it comes to source material, because it's all available at our fingertips. But it's also brutal because the consumers, the people that are engaging in our creative work, can find that source material, may know that source material. So this thing Shia LaBeouf's doing now has some very clear source material with Marina Abramovich. And there's a good chance you may even be familiar with that, even if you don't know much about art, thanks to Lady Gaga and Jay-Z. And the fact that Marina's been back in the public eye recently. But in 1974, she did the exact same thing Shia LaBeouf's doing now. And so my word is, first to creatives, do a little bit better job of allowing source material to breathe inside you and mix with everything else that's in you. I want to say it was James Victoria a few weeks ago talked about the idea of absorbing so much of a source that you can walk away and the resonant stuff, the good sticky stuff stays inside you. And when you come back later, it's just a part of you. It just comes out of you. You know, the first couple bars of Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, one of the more famous melodies in classical music, was from a children's lullaby, a melody from a children's tune that Stravinsky had heard as a child and changed a little bit and turned it into this beautiful, strange, riot-inducing piece of music. And so source material is a beautiful thing, but let it breathe inside you with all the other sources that are a part of you. If you're going to cop somebody's style, do it in the woodshed, do it in the practice room, do it on your own time. When you're working for clients, when you're putting work out into the public, be a little more careful, put more of yourself into it, of the other influences, bring it all together a little bit better. And for people who see a creative's work and recognize their source material, I ask that you cut us a little slack, because you just happen to have the resources at your hand to recognize our source material. It doesn't change the fact that a creative is doing creative work. Just because you happen to know who Marina Abramovich is, or you happen to have heard that song that somebody copped for. You know, I'm a jazz player, and most of what we do was copped from somebody else at some point. You know, there's articles now about Duke Ellington's credibility being brought into question because he turned his player solos into melodies for new tunes. For crying out loud, that's what creativity is taking the influences of the world, bringing them into yourself, and turning them into something new. So cut your creatives some slack. Creatives, do a better job of bringing in more influences and putting your own take on them a little bit better. And that's it for today for Creative People Are Weird. Shia LaBeouf's weird. I'm weird. We're all weird. Please come back and see me next week. But in the meantime, comment, share, write me, send carrier pigeons, whatever it is. I want your feedback. I crave it. I need it. I want to know what you want to hear in this space. This is Creative People Are Weird. I'm Matthew. Thanks. Bye.